Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
Welcome to another edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this August 25th, 2021 with your hosts, Matt, Greg, and Brendan. And today we have a very special
I'm
guest.
I'm actually very skecial.
That's whenever you have somebody who's special but a little sketchy at the same time.
Skecial. Yeah, I like it.
But hopefully he's not. We have a real attorney. We don't often get real attorneys, but we've got a real attorney today, as opposed to us who are not anything close to being attorneys. This is our general disclaimer that would always say we are not law offices, because I actually get email from people asking me to take cases, and I'm like, no, we're not attorneys. Can't you tell from our name? But that's probably why you need a lawyer.
Maybe we could be a referral service from some of our past lawyer clients.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Although if someone is asking us to be their counsel, they got significant problems beyond whatever their legal problem is.
Yes.
Well, that's usually the case when someone hires me.
And Adam may or may not stick around with us at the second half of the show to deal with our fake client. And our fake client for today is Hitler was a baby once. So that'll be a kind of a discussion about the nature of evil. Anyway, before we move on, Adam Hirshfield, just so everyone knows, is a highly regarded entertainment, tax, and intellectual property attorney, and we'll be getting into that detail more. But we have a fake sponsor to get through first. So, Brendan, you apparently found the sponsor for us today. So if you want to do the whatever the word is I can't think of.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, so today's episode of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker is sponsored by Minder. Minder is an app for busy people on the go, people that need to have a sense of what they believe, but not the time to commit to actually figuring out that shit for themselves. Do you find yourself lost in trying to pick a lane in what you believe? Do you simply not have the time to be bothered figuring that shit out? Reading books, attending meetings, fucking actually thinking? Well, Minder is the app for you. Simply create an account, answer 10 simple questions, and Minder will provide you with a set of beliefs and general philosophy for life. 10 questions, just really more than you can right now. Minder's got you. Simply hit the I believe in that button under the spinning roulette wheel of ideas, and Minder will randomly select your wheelhouse of beliefs on a variety of topics, both important and trivial. But Minder doesn't stop there. No. Minder uses its advanced AI and machine learning bullshit to automatically enroll you in all the proper Facebook groups, subreddits, YouTube channels, and podcasts. Now you can curl up in your bubble of pre-digested opinions and feel like you are centered in your mind space. Minder, you should have a philosophy of life, but you can't be bothered. Sign up for Minder today.
I believe that is my product, honestly.
That's a good one. I want that.
I need to have a belief system. So
I don't believe in anything.
Sign up for Minder today, guys. It's,
okay. Well, I'm glad you tried.
It's free if you mention QSB in the checkout box.
First month free.
Yeah, first month free.
First philosophy free.
Right.
Second one will cost you. All right. Well, let's get to our guest. Thank you so much for putting up with that, Adam. I totally appreciate it. Why don't you tell us a bit about what specifically you want to talk about?
What I specifically want to talk about, I wanted to answer whatever questions you fellows had. I have no agenda, which is odd for me. I can tell you some history. I can give you stories about clients who are out of their minds. I can tell you I can't really tell you the famous people I've worked for or the infamous people I've worked for. I feel that's sort of unethical to talk about your clients, with names.
Can you talk about
I know
the
some
clients,
people do,
but can you use like somebody else's name and pretend like they were your client and
Yes.
it wasn't actually your client? So
I was representing these three men named Matt, Brendan, and Greg.
Okay, that'll work.
Man, they were fucking nuts.
Bad hombres, those guys.
I was thinking maybe you could like use perhaps like a say you were representing Gregory Peck or something, and when in reality it was Justin Bieber. Or
Oh, I could say I was representing Gregory Peck. It wouldn't be true, but I could say it.
There we go.
And-
So okay,
And
Did you represent Fatty Arbuckle during that trial?
Fatty Arbuckle
let
was
me tell
last
first,
week.
there are two things. Two things about Fatty Arbuckle. One, I am not a litigator. And two, he really got screwed. I mean, forgive the expression because of, the nature of the case,
Yes.
but he really was very poorly treated.
And for
I
those
think. I mean, what
following
happened to
scandals from
Virginia?
the
What happened to
1920s.
Virginia Rap was terrible, but Fatty didn't do what he was accused of, and he really lost. Roscoe lost everything, unfortunately.
Just
Yeah.
the fact that you knew his name was Roscoe makes you totally perfect for this podcast.
Well, I'm an entertainment lawyer, right? They teach you that kind of shit.
So do they tell you which scandals are real, which scandals aren't real whenever you're
No, you have to investigate them.
you do? Okay. So
I very recently had a scandal client who I represented for about 15 minutes. He was a famous person, a name that you would know. He was accused of doing some very creepy things.
Oh, Tom Green then. Okay.
No, it wasn't him.
Okay.
And
Jimmy Fallon?
I talked to, keep guessing. I talked to
Dame Judy Dench?
that's it. I talked to a well-known gossip publication on his behalf when this was all heating up, and then I called the guy up to make a deal with him for me to represent him, and he wanted me to work for free.
Oh,
And unfortunately, I only work for money.
So what
that's
Crazy.
understandable.
what was the option for working for free? Was it like tickets to his entertainment venue, or like what the honor of having served him?
Yeah, yes.
The honor of having served him.
I
Pro
bet he
bono.
thought,
Pro bono means for the good.
Right.
So
No,
this is a famous person who had fallen on hard times, I suppose.
No, not necessarily.
Oh, so they're just a weasel then.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can we at least ask, or can you say the name of the gossip publication?
TMZ.
TMZ. Okay. So that's certainly. So you were talking to them on behalf of this guy before you found out that he wanted you to hire him for free?
Well, I spoke to him for a few minutes, and he was beside himself being accused of these things.
Uh-huh.
And then I talked to a reporter at TMZ, and then I called him back in order to make a deal with him. And I should have done it before I talked to TMZ. That's the lesson that I learned.
Yeah, right. No
There's
kidding.
every day is an education.
So do you deal with gossip people a lot in your line of
No,
work?
not frequently.
Oh,
Not
okay.
frequently. But I deal with disaster mitigation.
Okay.
You know those trucks that drive around and like Servpro and things like that, and if your house is on fire, there's a flood, they come and they clean it up and they put the fans in so it doesn't mildew and things like that. A lot of what I do is that.
huh,
You prevent
Because
people from
there's
mildewing.
there is a dictum in the law, what I believe firmly, in which I believe firmly, and that
It's
is
a
that
big dictum.
it is always cheaper to do something right than to unfuck it later on. But I get a lot of unfucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
you're the
sense.
janitor.
So yes, I have a legal mop and bucket, and I follow the trail around,
So
absorbing
has
what I can.
right.
Putting
So
sawdust
has
on the vomit.
has all of this canceled Me Too? Has this been a boom for your mom?
No,
bucket business?
I was connected to this person through a mutual acquaintance, and it was I knew how to deal with it, but this isn't something I get into. There were some people I'd like to cancel, but unfortunately, I'm not in a position to do so.
Right. Well, yeah, no, that's true. I was just wondering. It seems like somebody must be benefiting from
Oh,
all
sure.
this sort of controversy.
Yeah, PR people. And then if someone gets sued, they have to hire they have to lawyer up to deal with that. But that's not what I do. I don't go into courtrooms anymore.
So you speak softly and carry a big dictum.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And Matt was for sure gonna bring the dictum thing back.
Yeah.
Quite all right.
He was disappointed he didn't get it in there when he didn't get
No.
his.
No, he did. He did get
there,
it in there. He slid the dictum in earlier, but I
He
ignored
tried
it.
to slide his dictum in, but then the dictum just was limp.
It was just the tip of the dictum.
And when he had a fully erect dictum, he unleashed it.
Greg, you
Whip
got
it
to
out.
understand about subtlety at least, Greg.
My
That's just
firm
going
thinks they're going to
over-
use this. The firm thinks they're going to use this to promote our practice, and I don't think it's going to happen.
This
The
particular
way this is
show,
going.
So
Obviously,
speaking of scandals, do you know any have any insights with the whole Richard Gere gerbils thing? Do you have any?
That is a myth.
they weren't
Is
gerbils.
it?
It was a hippopotamus.
My understanding is that it is a myth.
I
I
know
can't
it's
believe
a
I've
myth.
been gone for 4 weeks and we just circled back to Richard Gere and the gerbil. Like
I know
that was-
Greg has brought up 2 old pieces of news from the show. He brought up Fatty Arbuckle, which we just mentioned last week, and for some reason,
Oh, really?
You
It
brought
seemed
up
like
again
months
today.
ago.
So you got something from the 1920s and you got something from the 1980s.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
you want
he
to hold
brought
it in
up
the
Gear
21st
from like
century,
months
just let me
ago.
know.
That was definitely months ago. Was the
So
Gear
My
one,
thing
I
is,
think.
I'll stop with Richard here. Never mind. Continue.
Good. So what kind of mop action do you do if it's not the sex scandal thing, which seems to be all the rage these days? What kind of, is it financial? Is it just bad contracts?
A lot of my tax work is helping people who have forgotten for one reason or another to pay their taxes for a number of years. And sometimes I have to get people out of deals. I've done that, quite a few times, deals that weren't favorable to them. If they had had me at the beginning of the process, hopefully I would have made a better deal for them, that they wouldn't have had to exit, and it would have cost them less money to do that.
Actually, I have a
Al
question
Capone.
going back to your history as an attorney, which is that at one point you worked for NBC Incorporated, and I was curious, as an attorney, how do you get jobs like that in a corporate field? Do they put something on
somebody.
Craigslist or that? So it's
You know
basically
somebody. Yes, they
called
don't
you.
list them on Craigslist. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you something. For all you people thinking about getting jobs at big companies, I don't think the websites they have where you can put in your resume and tell them what you're interested in, I don't know how they work, but I don't think they do a lot of hiring out of those. I think for legal reasons, they have to put the jobs up on the internet or advertise them. They used to advertise them in the paper. And I'm old enough to have gotten jobs out of newspapers, but I think now one job I had a recruiter for, and all the other legal jobs I've had, I think I knew somebody.
Okay, fair enough. Well, with your current firm, I was looking into it a little bit further. It's gigantic. It's like
Yeah.
part of a Chinese conglomerate where they have like 90 different offices across the world or something like that.
Yes, I'm of counsel to a firm
Okay.
called YK Law.
Which stands for
Yes, I have no idea what it stands.
law.
Well, I actually do know what it stands for. One of the partners was involved and is a partner at a firm called Yinka in China. And Yinka is an enormous firm. I think it's like 10,000 lawyers. But I have my own firm, and I'm also of counsel to this firm. So I bring work to them. They give work to me. And I also have my own clients that I represent.
And
If there's
would
something that I
imagine
can't do, something someone asks me to do that I either don't want to do or I don't feel I'm qualified to do, I bring it to them and they take care of it.
I would imagine being connected to a giant Chinese law firm is probably a really smart thing these days, considering how much more business forward China is becoming. As like it seems to be moving a little bit away from communism and a little bit more capitalistic to a certain degree.
Well, I think what
this show suddenly turned into
This is-
MSNBC.
that's right. This is all of a sudden this is firing line.
I
I think
You went
what
from
you have to
dictum
understand.
to-
I think
We
what you
went
have
from
to understand.
dictum to the strange transition of China's eco-political whatever from communism to to capitalism.
Well, there's
I don't
still
know how we got there.
you're talking about
Dictums
two
in
different
China are
things.
much smaller.
You're
Brad.
talking about two different things, and this is absolutely not going on our law firm's website.
No, it shouldn't be anywhere near.
But I am going to show this to some of the lawyers at my firm
I'm sure they'll
and find
appreciate
out whether anything that you've said is actually actionable. The my understanding of China's standpoint is that you're talking about two different things. You're talking about a political system and an economic system. And the economic system they've decided to adopt is a capitalist system. And the political system that they've retained is a communist system. And that's the answer to your question. It's not funny, but that's it.
It's pure doublethink, like from Orwell. Like, how does that shouldn't exist? That's like Karl Marx is spinning over in his grave. It's weird.
Karl Marx has nothing to do with communism in the 20th century.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really, I mean, if we're really going to dive into this, it's really not that hard of a leap to understand that communism and capitalism are not at odds whatsoever, really. At least the communism as it is practiced in today. You know, maybe in some theoretical book of, you know, Marxist doctrine, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But in the way that the world works today, absolutely makes total sense.
I think the reason that capitalism is important is because people want things.
Yes.
The word mine exists in at least two languages that I speak. So, you know, people want things for themselves.
How many languages do you speak?
English, German, a little French. I used to have some Greek and Latin.
A little bit of Greek and Latin because of being a lawyer.
You got to have some Latin.
No. There's very little Latin anymore in the law. Classical education.
Oh,
I took Greek and Latin in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, thereabouts.
Right. So are you?
Wait, hold on a second. You took Greek and Latin in 7th and 8th grade. Where were you going to school? That's not a public school.
I went to a junior boarding school in Massachusetts called the Fay School.
Okay.
In Southborough, Mass. It was founded in 1866. It's the oldest independent junior boarding school in the country. And after that, I attended another ancient boarding school called the Governor's Academy in Byfield, Massachusetts, that was founded in 1763.
So you have like a couple of silver spoons behind your ears. God.
Absolutely.
So do you have any horror stories?
I wouldn't go any other way, man.
It's nice to start up that way. Did you have any horror stories from boarding school? Like
no, I had a blast.
Thistles?
No. I had a great time.
No thistles.
There were some bullies, but you know, I dealt with them verbally, and I'm sure they still bear the scars. And I was a big hit. I was a big hit with the girls. I played music in concerts. I was in shows. I played sports. You know, I had a really good time.
And you didn't have a problem like with your parents sending you away to school?
No, I loved it.
It's like I'm away from them.
My sister's 2 years older than me, and she went to the public high school in Sudbury, Mass, the town that we lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking Drugsbury Reasonably High School. It's for Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School. And apparently, after her first year there, she said to my parents that they had to send me away to school because, I don't know, I would have gotten killed there or something. I don't think it would have happened.
It was your sister looking out for you.
My sister decided that I should be in private school.
She didn't want you around. She probably wanted a house to herself.
She wanted the bedroom that you had.
Yeah. No, actually, she didn't. She had a much better bedroom.
Get rid of my little brother.
So is she a lawyer too?
No.
Has she gone on to great things?
Because she's not.
You said no.
Yeah, she's gone on to some very interesting things. She and her husband own a company that provides healthcare services to people who are homebound.
Okay, got
like
that, Greg? You like me?
I work. I wish I was homebound.
I'm not homebound. I walk around the place.
Yeah, are you in New York?
I am in New York. I'm in East Hampton, New York, even as we speak.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, it's Long
That's a nice
Island.
place to be in New York.
Yeah, Greg is a New Yorker.
Yeah, it's very, very, I used to have, I still have the YK office that I can use in the city, but I haven't had my own office in the city for many years. It's just with, technology, it's really not necessary.
So you just work from home most of the time? You don't have to go
I work from home. I work from the car. I work from wherever I am.
Makes sense.
Especially with the time of the pandemic where
It's very nice.
It's very nice
for
that.
It's very nice that not having somebody pressuring me to go into an office.
Yeah, there's like reasons to where you don't have to do it. It's like today I was on the phone with doing a Zoom call with a nutritionist. I'm like, well, this is great. I don't have to go into a hospital to talk to somebody.
Adam, how old were you when you were like, I want to be a lawyer? Did something influence you or inspire you?
I was about, well, I think people thought I should be a lawyer when I was about 12 or 13.
Were you generally argumentative?
I guess.
And people used to ask me that too, but I didn't want to do that much.
And I didn't go to law school until I was 30.
Oh.
I took a different path than most people.
Was it a musical path? Because you said you're a musician before.
No. I knew that music wasn't going to go anywhere for me. I knew I did not have that kind of talent. But if you scratch an entertainment lawyer, you usually will find a musician underneath.
A failed musician.
Absolutely.
What was your instrument? Were you like a big oboeist or something?
Or if you scratch an attorney too much, you'll get a lawsuit. But
that's the other part.
You'll get infected. No, my instrument in high school, I played keyboards and vibes. And then when I got out of high school, I decided I wanted to play guitar, so I taught myself how to play guitar. And the bands that I was in after high school, I played guitar in.
I would just have
rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
I just had this image of you being like this rock star oboeist, because they're big.
Oboe is a very, very difficult instrument.
And chicks don't dig it.
It's the ill woodwind that no one blows good.
So what kind of rock music was it? Like 80s hair band kind of?
No,
like
it was more like new wave punky stuff.
New wave punky stuff, like
in high school it was jazz.
Jazz.
And then after high school it was I was in a very briefly in a band that just played covers and would play schools. But I also played in a jazz group.
Oh, okay.
And I put on my tuxedo and play the vibes and things like that because I thought it was funny.
Right, but otherwise you were doing Depeche Mode covers, or
no. In high school, the cover band in high school was doing things like Stones, Kinks, Jay Giles Band, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Stuff that you would hear at a school dance.
Sure.
If Makes you're sense. My age, and I have no idea how old you guys are.
I think we're similar.
I think we have more
similarly situated. Oh yeah,
similarly situated.
Clean living.
What's that?
Clean living. My hair is falling out, but I don't have gray hair.
I have plenty for all of us. So
my hair fell out all on the sides in the past month.
That's very strange. That's lateral alopecia.
Yes,
that's actually his nickname.
Should I do a comb over maybe?
Because my hair looked like that about 20 minutes ago, actually.
I look like Hitler, speaking of, sorry to jump the gun there.
Oh, that's okay. I don't think his mother was combing his hair funny when he was a kid.
No.
I mean, you want some, more, I wrote down some things.
Let's talk about those things you wrote
down.
Tell us the things you wrote down. I actually have a similar little notepad like that, so. Little yellow pad.
Except what's written on is probably way dumber, Matt.
The stuff that's on mine is just hard to read.
I doubt it. There are some interesting things that I'm working on right now. I have a client that's doing some very interesting things in blockchain in the entertainment space, doing things with licensing and ticketing and stuff like that.
So he's doing like NFTs?
Yeah, she's getting into that, NFTs. This is a startup in San Francisco. I am working on raising money for an Alec Baldwin film. I'm a producer, sort of, for him.
You're a producer, sort of.
If I get the money, I'm a producer.
Oh, got it.
If I don't get the money, I'm a viewer.
You're a schmuck.
So they're asking you to get the money together.
Yes.
Can you talk about the movie or no?
It's a Western.
Western.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get a lot of good westerns. I
And
can see
hopefully
Baldwin
it
in a
will.
western.
And hopefully it will be in production in November.
That's a risky bet.
Why is it risky?
Only if you
Western-
invest
Because it's a
your own.
film
Only
business?
if you. No, I think westerns do fine. It's not a big budget movie. It should do. It should more than make back its budget. So I think it's a very sound investment.
Now, is
What are the
Baldwin
I think you
starring
guys
in
have
it?
several $1 million, floating around.
Is Baldwin starring in it, or is he just
Yes,
like the
he's
runner?
producing and starring in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to see Alec Baldwin in a Western.
What other
I could
movies?
see him in a western.
What other movies have you been involved in, Adam? Have you produced other movies?
No, I have not produced other movies. I've represented a few, but I don't want to necessarily go into who I've worked for.
It was Gregory Peck,
Okay.
Greg.
Gregory Peck. It was To Kill. It was the original To Kill a Mockingbird. I was
Fatty
the.
Arbuckle.
He
I
was
was
the
the
Mockingbird.
production. I was the production lawyer on that.
Yeah.
Did Atticus Finch inspire you to become a lawyer?
You know what? I've never read Harper Lee's book,
Oh.
and I don't think I've even seen the whole movie.
So no
Okay.
inspiration there.
Yeah.
I watched it with my daughter, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago. That was one of those kind of weird things we did together. It's a good
Watching
movie.
a movie together is a weird thing.
That's pretty weird.
That is strange.
Watching
So strange.
that movie together with your, like, going back that far down the time stream, yeah, that's a
Oh, I do that stuff to my kids all the time.
well, that's why they're weird.
Well, that could
He
be
shows
part
them-
of it.
He shows them Fatty Arbuckle.
Oh, I also
It's like one of my
I-
kids and I we watched The Seventh Seal not that long ago. That's like
I also represent a podcast, believe it or not.
Which
Podcast.
podcast can you
A
say?
podcast. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to promote them.
Let's do it.
It's called Hey Poopy.
Hey, Poopy.
Hey, poop.
Hey Poopy. Hey Poopy.
I like it
And
already.
it deals with sort of bathroom issues,
It
colorectal
sounds like it.
health, all those kinds of things in a very, very humorous manner.
It
We've
would
done
have
that
to
on our
be.
show before. We've dealt with bathroom issues many times.
Wait,
Inadvertently.
So
Greg,
please
you were always dealing with
subscribe.
bathroom issues.
was that when we were the medical offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker? That one episode
Yeah.
we were
And I
talking
was-
about body dysfunctions.
And I always have to run to the bathroom and mute everyone when I pee.
All right, with really way too much information.
You should just mute yourself when you pee, not everyone else.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the problem. He
remember
mutes
that.
us, and we listen to him pee in silence. It's really weird.
I'd say Hey Poopy has a much better website than we have.
Yeah.
Sounds great because that's something in my whole life. I'm always sad people don't. Oh, you can't talk about this stuff. But it's
And
necessary.
the
Like, you wanna know.
the people behind it are really, really great people. The woman who is the co-host, Ellen Stagg, I've represented for over 10 years. She's a wonderful photographer.
Yeah, the
great.
first time I had like corn in my poop, I wanted to ask people like, "Is this normal? Am I gonna die?" Like,
You
but
wanted
nobody-
to
you're
ask
not supposed
somebody if it was normal for you to have corn in your poop.
in your poop. Yeah, like when I was a little kid.
Well,
like,
you know,
No,
the-
if you had a
the
kernel in
kernels
your
are-
poop,
the-
that would be the question to ask.
The
not
kernels
corn.
are indigestible. The
Right,
outside
I
of the
know,
corn
I
kernel
learned
is indigestible.
I learned that
So
later.
it's gotta
but
go
it was
somewhere.
weird. I wanted to discuss it with someone to say, "Hey, did this happen to you?"
Well,
What's
then you
going
should listen to their podcast.
You
I
should listen
think
to the
I will.
podcast. Obviously, this is a podcast for you, Greg.
It's like,
It is.
and why are you dissecting your poop anyway, Greg? Why
I
are
wasn't
you?
dissecting it. I just looked at it and said, "Hey, there's corn bits in there."
You know
Corn
what? You know
bits.
what? That lesson, what I learned was I'm not going to eat corn anymore. That's what I took away. That was my takeaway from seeing corn in my poop. I'm like, I'm not eating this anymore.
Since we've just passed the anniversary of Elvis Presley's demise,
Okay.
Oh,
I'll
Let's get
tell
this
you
tie-in.
the Willie Nelson told this joke that Elvis's last words were corn.
It's one final word.
I don't think Elvis ever ate anything that healthy. He was like, I could see if there was like a bacon bits in it.
Well, he could have put it on his sandwich with the banana and the peanut
That's
butter
right.
and the
Yeah.
mayonnaise.
do you happen to know Willie Nelson, or was that just an off the?
No, I heard that. I know his
Oh.
publicist, but I heard him actually tell that joke one time.
Willie Nelson's a great guy.
Yes.
Whatever.
Did Willie Nelson tell you that joke also, Brendan?
No, Willie Nelson has told me no jokes whatsoever. 0 jokes told to me by Willie Nelson because I don't know him.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering how you knew he was a great guy. So I thought maybe you would. know
Willie,
him
do
in
I need to
person.
explain this to you? How like how the world works again, Matt?
Actually, yeah. How
Okay,
does the world work, Brendan?
So you watch things on, like you watch interviews or you read articles or you observe somebody and you go, he seems like a nice person. You don't actually need to know him personally to make that judgment.
But to give full confidence behind that statement, that helps a lot. You can say he seems like it based upon what you've seen on TV.
Well, if you
Right.
want to live in that weird world of uncertainty,
order, I object, order.
Aren't you glad I'm back?
Yes, absolutely, because we need to get back on track. So, when did you decide to leave NBC and go off on your own? And what made you decide
Right
to do
after September 11th.
Oh, okay. So it was like an
like
epiphany. You had an
time to
epiphany of
do
a
this.
kind. Okay.
Yes.
Was NBC like sucking your soul or something?
Oh no, it was a great place to work.
Oh,
Any office you have with a television in it is a good place to work, in my opinion.
Sure.
One of the great things about working at NBC, aside from seeing like Tom Brokaw in the elevator or being able to go over and look through the viewing window from the 9th floor and look down into 8H and watch them rehearse, is all of the feeds are on the TV in your office, so you can watch, any feed from an NBC station or a studio in Rockefeller Center. You can watch them rehearse. You can watch the bands rehearse. You can do stuff like that. You could have even recorded this stuff if you wanted to, because I had a VCR in there, but I never did that because.
Was there anybody at NBC that you had to give a stern dressing down to for saying the wrong thing on the air?
I was never in the stern dressing down position.
Oh, okay.
At the National Broadcasting Company.
Okay. You were just merely the one who got dressed down?
No, I didn't get dressed down that much.
Okay.
I've never really had that problem in the law. I've been very lucky in working for people who weren't complete assholes.
That is lucky. Let's talk about Brendan now. So,
well, since we're talking about assholes,
do you want to go back to Hey Poopy?
Let's talk about Hey Poopy.
Hey Poopy.
I think, obviously the demographics for a show like that are, certainly 45 into the 70s. Are the hosts in that age category? Are they older?
They're a little bit younger than that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So
it's not all it's not all like a commercial for that Cologuard or something like that,
Oh God, I hate those.
I call that shit in the box.
Yeah, that little toilet box guy that comes in like, hi, oh God, I hate those.
No, this definitely skews younger than you're thinking.
Really?
Like I said, I wanted to talk about poop issues since I was a kid. I always wanted to talk about.
Do you think the interest in poop related issues is sliding younger?
I think that the younger generation has a much better relationship with the tuchus than people generally of my age.
I think there's a lot of ass denial in the Gen X and Boomer category.
They actually don't think they have ass.
For years, I denied having an ass. You're right.
Yeah. No,
and then I was able to come to terms with it. Once I could find it with both hands, it was a real breakthrough for me.
I still have issues with it. I have issues. I don't like thinking about it. That's because
you can't reach it with both hands, Matt.
That's true. I can barely reach it at all. Matter of fact, my waist starts at my kneecaps. There is no ass there whatsoever.
I'm so glad I'm not giving legal advice on this podcast.
Oh, I'm yeah, you should be.
Because the deviation is excellent.
Well, Brendan has contracts with lots of lawyers, so he has to deal with guys like you all the time.
I do marketing, and it's all family law. The reason I asked about the uptick in maybe potentially your brand is that, interestingly enough, in the family law universe, the pandemic and the lockdowns and all that, divorces are literally booming.
Hardly surprising.
Yeah, I know.
It has not been a great 2 years for entertainment law. Yeah, I'll tell you. But there are, I represent a couple of magazines, a magazine called Travel Outdoors. And, the things things shift from the live venue. You know, live music was gone and probably going away again. So I've shifted other things. When I say entertainment law, I do things that I find entertaining. So if one of my clients wants to start a magazine, I'm happy to represent him doing the corporate work and the intellectual property work for that. If another of my clients gets involved in a podcast, I find out about that and do blockchain. I have, you know, I'm doing corporate work and entertainment and intellectual property work. So it's all, you know, it's all pretty much the same thing. You know, people sometimes ask, why did you choose entertainment law? And since you haven't asked me that, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
You can, you know, there are all different areas of the law to go into. I could have been a corporate lawyer doing transactions. My wife is a recovering attorney. And when she was practicing law, she was doing things like, you know, 2 companies that made dairy milking machines, you know, were doing a transaction. And that's what she was doing. Me, I'm working on a movie. I'm working on somebody's record deal, music publishing. It's a lot more interesting to me.
Do a documentary on the milking machines.
Could you invite your wife in so we could talk to her about the dairy? That sounds fascinating.
No, I cannot.
Oh, okay.
They never want to bring the wife.
She is not prepared to appear.
That's right. This required a lot of preparation to talk to us.
I had to put on an actual shirt.
That's true. Well, we do appreciate that. At least you have a shirt on. But actually, this is a really good time to get into the client for today. And again, this is totally up to you if you want to stick around for this particular discussion.
I don't see how it could go any worse than it's already gone.
It's
and
that's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
You're gonna surprise me?
No, yeah, you just never know. You just never know where it's gonna head.
Believe it or not, I have an opinion about child Hitler. So go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, again, just to reiterate to those who have come into the stage, whoever's listening to us this week, the client for today is Hitler was a baby once, and essentially, Greg and I were talking about when things become evil or how they become evil, and the title basically came about because I use that statement a lot, like Hitler was a baby once. So whenever people talk about serial killers and they can't understand how people can be certain ways, I think there's a spectrum of evil that you have to deal with. There's people who are at the one end of evil where they're fully committed to destroying as many lives as possible because that's what they're all about, to people who, you know, they'll steal a grape. They'll steal a grape at the grocery store. You know, that's like the sliding slope.
That's not stealing. That's testing.
It's testing.
Yeah.
If it doesn't belong to you and you take it, it's theft.
It's testing a grape.
But you're a lawyer, so you would know the legal definition of theftery.
I tested so much food at the food deli once.
Theftery is my new word.
I think evil is a strong word for your grapefruit or whatever it was analogy because, I mean...
Well, nobody's eating grapefruits at the grocery store.
Unless... I think Brendan's point is it's a false equivalency to equate Adolf Hitler with somebody eating grape.
Well, I'm not saying that is the same. I'm saying that there's
a grape that doesn't belong to them, and then you know, in some societies, in some religions, that'll, you know, at least put you in purgatory.
Yeah,
they chop your hand off.
If you're taking a grape from somebody who needed that grape, who was die without the grape, and you take the grape from them,
right? Well, like if I'm stealing grapes to feed my family, I'm evil?
Right. I'm saying that there's a spectrum, though. There's a spectrum of evil. In other words, there's a point where you're not evil, and then something you do puts you on that trajectory.
If you're stealing grapes for your family that's starving, you're not evil. You're a schmuck. You should be stealing something else, like rice or wheat.
Oh,
you know, something you could make into a staple.
Well, you
food.
can have a schmuck spectrum as well. I mean, that's
choosing grapes as the sustainability model for your family is definitely schmuck level 8 of dumb shit.
That's right.
For sure.
Right.
You come home and you're like,
everyone's dying.
I know the kids are starving. Look, seedless grapes. And
that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But to my point, the grape was merely a convenient example of where it could begin. In other words, at what stage does somebody turn that corner where they go, or is it inherent? You know, Greg, you were talking about nature, nurture, what have you, in a separate conversation we were having. Is it the inherent nature of a person that they will do evil acts, or is that something that comes along later as learned behavior, or is something
So you said
that
it's a
they're
slippery
taught?
slope?
I think
saying
it's
starts
the
with
nature versus nurture argument that was decided for all of us many, many years ago in the great documentary film Trading Places.
Yes.
For $1.
That's right.
But
Nice-
but there was nothing
Nice
that was actually
callback.
nothing that was
Thank you.
concluded from that, other than it continued Eddie Murphy's career. And
No, because
Jamie Lee
Dan,
Curtis had a really nice set of.
I think it's Dan Aykroyd
Yes.
really lost his shit, really lost his mind. I mean, he went to pieces.
You mean like literally himself?
No, this
Outside of the movie
character
or in the
This
character? Okay, I was going to say I didn't realize it was so traumatic for him as a person.
Nah.
No,
he's
that was
good.
what was it? That was Nothing But Trouble. Was the traumatic event in his movie career. Well, it was traumatic for
nobody
me.
saw that one.
Watching it was traumatic for me.
I'm not going to watch it, so it won't be a trauma for me. But getting back to the spectrum of evil, once you start eating people, that's pretty much like the furthest extent of it. That's like
You could take
11
that
on
to
the
if
dial,
it is,
right?
is the thing that's going to keep your family alive type of situation as well, like Donner Party or Easter
I don't
Island,
think
or cannibal
cannibalism
cultures.
necessarily is evil because, as you just said, Matt, it does exist in some cultures. It's gross to us, but
Yeah.
not that. Some people, think eating cows is bad.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
some people.
So,
Crazy.
yeah.
I'm not one of them.
Like a billion
What
of
about-
them out there.
What about the soccer team that went down in the Andes alive?
Alive,
I don't
right?
think there's anything evil about what they did. That's not
No,
even
and
their culture.
they waited. I believe they waited until their teammates died before they ate them.
Yeah, if I was dead, I'd want you to eat me to survive. I'd be like, yeah, good on you.
So you're
No,
saying that
Greg,
if you
Greg,
die,
just to
Greg,
clear it
we
up,
can
I
give
would
your
not
body to
eat
people to
I would not
feed
eat
them.
you.
Well,
I
you
would-
don't have to, but if you were going to die, you might look at me a
No,
little
But
different.
what does cannibalism have to do with Hitler?
I don't know. I was just trying to
I don't
say it. The intro argument was there's a spectrum, so I was trying to understand like if grapes was one side of it, was eating people the other side.
Hitler was a
apparently-
See,
great.
I think evil is a convenient excuse to say someone is evil. I think removes some of the blame from them because they have this evil nature.
Well, you can say the act
Hitler
is
was
evil.
was a piece of shit as a human being,
Yeah.
but he did everything he did. It wasn't like evil descended on him from the heavens and took him over. He wasn't possessed. He was a person with a mind, and he thought about what he was going to do, and he decided what he was going to do, and what he did was horrible.
Yes.
But he was an evil person. I don't think force is descended from anywhere. That some people can be evil. I think the word is valid if you don't use it.
I think the evil
Christian sense.
appellation comes out of the person's actions. I don't think
Yes.
the evil exists
Yeah.
before the actions. I think the evil is a way of describing what they do.
Well, I think you
For
can have
sure.
evil intent. A person can have evil intent without actually acting upon it. They can have evil.
that means
It's
thoughts.
like for me it's like this. It's like do you guys like magicians?
Depends
Yeah.
upon the magician.
Maybe.
Like Penn and Teller?
Sure.
I
Okay.
prefer Teller over Penn, but okay.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah.
So what I think is very interesting about magic is that it's not real, is that it's not magic. Is that there's no magical powers, making these things happen. These guys are actually making these
What?
things happen with their hands.
That's not true.
Right.
I know, it's
I
breaking
refuse
news.
to believe
Breaking
that.
news. So my thought about
All magic.
Hitler is that it's not some, people say that, he's evil, like there's some magical evil that he had. He was a bad person who did horrible things. And we describe his actions as being evil, but I think some people say he was evil. I think that gives people it might give him an out to say that he had
How does
some.
that give you an out by saying that they're evil? How is that an out?
Because it's
How
like
is that
evil
an
comes
excuse?
from something else. Like evil boils out of the ground, the big shit
Like
monster.
there's something that made Hitler evil, which doesn't make Matt evil.
Well,
something
lots of
we-
people, unfortunately, have are abused as children, and have horrible experiences growing up, and do not start world wars. You know,
Right,
Hitler as a baby was abused, but you know, lots of people unfortunately are abused, but they don't, you know, burn down the Reichstag and have, you know, special enabling acts so they have powers and enact Nuremberg laws and then make a deal with Stalin to, you know, split up Poland and then invade Poland and invade Russia and then invade France.
Really,
you know,
right? Hitler was just really, you know, a fucking overachiever. He just happened to have some.
Wait, did you say he was an ostrich achiever?
Awesome overachiever.
Okay,
yes.
you had a lag at the moment, so it sounded like ostrich achiever to me.
Yeah, because he's an ostrich achiever too.
The common term, ostrich achiever.
Yes.
Many people use it in their daily lives.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying that, you know, there's a certain part of Hitler's backstory that just, you know, yeah, a lot of people experience that. Like going back to your point, Matt, about evil intentions. Like there are times, I got to tell you, I'm driving down the road and there's a bunch of like these guys on bikes with their like spandex outfits and they're kind of taking up the fucking road. There's a part of me, Matt knows what I'm about. There's a part of me that just kind of wants to drift and just and take them all out.
Especially when they're riding side by side.
Yes,
not in a single file.
Now, is it more for the satisfaction of seeing them fall like dominoes, or you actually want to cause harm to them?
I kind of do.
Okay, you want
Not
to
a
damage
lot,
them,
but a little.
damage them in some
Maybe.
way.
This is the thing, you guys. You could go through a person could go through their life with all evil intentions in his head. If he never acts on them, that person's not evil. Everyone has some shitty things they want to do, and the fact that you resist it and don't do it means that you have ethics and morality or whatever you want to call it. So you're not evil. You could have nothing but evil thoughts in your head.
You know what's actually evil? The people who weren't horrible people who went along with all the shit that Hitler wanted to do. That is, you know, that people who said, well, you know, my bread's being buttered, the economy's picking up, and I don't know any Jews, so fuck it. I don't know any gypsies. I don't know any homosexuals. Catholics don't come into it for me. So
you're saying is that Hitler wasn't evil, but they're evil?
No, I'm not saying that Hitler wasn't evil.
Okay.
I'm saying that everything he did was horrible and evil. I'm saying that evil as a thing doesn't exist. I think that my point is that the people in Germany who went along with it were just as bad.
Okay.
And maybe worse.
Right.
I don't know.
Because
maybe they were good people who just did bad things. Hitler was not a good person who did bad things. He was a bad person who did bad things.
Yeah. But don't you think, like, in a way, though, they're not as bad because they were terrified. I mean, if they tried to fight Hitler, they'd probably end up in the camps. And
there were plenty of people who, when he was on his rise, before 1933, big industrial guys like, you know, Krupp and IG Farben and Siemens and things like that, who were supporting the Nazi Party.
Yeah,
you know,
those guys are pretty evil in the first place, I think.
And they were doing it, you know, so because you know, Hitler had the promise of putting their factories back to work.
Right. So then, at what point then do we consider that, using Hitler as the example, since Hitler was a baby once, some point down the line he starts committing evil acts, but he had a desire to do it. He had an intention to cause it. He was moving forward on that. So without actually committing the acts yet, there is a point where you can show evil is taking place, even though no one has been harmed yet. When they part the planning stages, or is it when he starts? Was it with Mein Kampf, or was it before even then? You know, at what stage is it?
Are you saying there's a point at which baby Hitler or toddler Hitler or middle school pimply Hitler at some point was evil came into him and he decided now I will ruin the world and started?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he had some bad thing happen to him in puberty. You know, because puberty causes so many weird thought processes to change in kids, you know, where they were these innocent little things, and then shortly after that they become something. that
So
you don't
so it
want
was
to be
because
anywhere near.
Hitler couldn't get laid in high school, and that's why the Holocaust happened. That's your
I don't know.
theory?
I think Brendan's got a
That's
good
what I
movie
always thought.
idea with middle-aged pimply Hitler. I think that would be an excellent
I'm
title
just
for a
saying-
movie.
I have a
Understand
short
that,
story.
that we
once
all
called-
had that weird uncle, but we didn't all start World War II.
I don't have that weird uncle.
I wrote a short story once called Young Hitler in Love. And the premise is that when he was an art student, even, he was a pretty nice guy. And basically some woman jilted him. And it could have been that. Who knows what starts a person down the wrong path?
It probably
really
was something. George Carlin used to do a joke about a borderline psychotic going to the mailbox and somebody sent him scope. If you give somebody mouthwash, it's not the greatest thing. And scope.
Yeah.
And he's up on the roof of the Magnum, 9 deadly Marine training. That was the joke, and
Yeah.
it could have been like a borderline thing that something just set him over the edge one day.
Well, it's
I don't
like
think we know.
all the school shootings, right? So, like the kids from Columbine and what have you. Are they evil?
Well, that's a lot
or are
of
they mentally ill?
that's a lot of impulse control thing
Yeah.
for kids. Kids their brains are not working.
They're
correctly.
monsters. Most kids, I think.
All of them are monsters.
All right, show of hands.
All of them are baby Hitlers.
Who has kids?
Every
in the room?
child is a baby Hitler
They
and
could
a
end up that way.
potential genocidal maniac
It's
waiting
true.
to
It's
come
true.
forth.
You never know.
Well, you never do know what anybody's thinking. You don't know what weird thoughts rattling around in anybody's head. That's
So
quite
what is
true.
it about baby Hitler that is driving this? Because I know I took over the conversation and drove it the direction I wanted to.
Well,
but-
it was a convenient title for the concept of exploring evil.
Yeah, he's like the most evil guy. in the
Well, it's
20th
like an
century.
easy. It's an
He's
easy
right up
device.
there. I think he's actually tied with Stalin.
Yeah, Stalin was pretty fucking.
Stalin was a horrible. Stalin killed more people,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pol
Stalin
Pot
was-
is
but
probably
he didn't have
amongst that group,
his
though.
press wasn't as good as Hitler's.
Stalin was more cold-blooded too. Like he didn't seem to ever suffer psychologically, or like Hitler seemed to have some guilt and fucked up shit. Like where I don't think he was guilty about killing the Jews, but he also like had this just weird sides to him. Would get depressed. Stalin was just like totally thrilled with like massacring people and like didn't have a second thought, didn't ever think about it.
Right. The
Stalin-
interesting thing about Stalin
The
was
Nazis had way
he was a
better fashion.
seminarian as a young man. He was going into the priesthood.
I know.
That's probably what triggered
Yeah,
him.
I bet he was going to be a Jesuit. Those guys are fucking.
I
harsh.
doubt he was going to be a Jesuit in Georgia, in the Russian
sorry.
Empire.
Yeah, they don't have those in Eastern Orthodox Church.
I don't think so.
No.
Whatever their equivalent is, the badasses of
The
Eastern
Georgians
Orthodox Church,
is what
the
they would
CIA.
say.
It's the same thing, but it's 2 weeks later.
Georgians.
They'd be the Georgians, Greg. Yeah.
That
It's
doesn't
part of
work
the
as well.
Orthodox Church. Well, if you're in Georgia, Brendan, you were about to say something.
I forget what the hell I was talking about.
Who knew? Never knew what he was
Who
going to talk
knew?
about. But getting it back into it's the flipping point. That's basically where my interest lies. My
The
interest
tipping
lies
point.
in the point where somebody is not acting on the evil intentions to where the evil intentions then start taking a grip. And this applies to
might,
everybody besides even Hitler. Just your basic run-of-the-mill killer.
It might build to that point. I mean, we know a lot about Hitler, so maybe we can look at what was going on when he got out of the army in 1918. The whole feeling, the feeling of being put upon, the feeling of being betrayed. That drove him sort of into the hands of this, incipient National Socialist Democratic Workers' Party that was going on in
Well, he
Bavaria.
wasn't even,
Right.
as far as I know, he didn't actually ever kill anybody himself, though.
But he was a messenger, so he got a lot of people killed. You mean in the war?
Right, I'm saying,
or
but
up
his
close and
personal
personal?
hand, did his hands actually get dirty, or did he just get other people's hands
As far as the law is concerned, there's no difference.
okay,
As far as
But
I'm
I'm talking
concerned,
about
there's
as
no
far as
difference either.
right, but I'm talking about as far as the personal individual is concerned. There is something with removing the light from someone's eyes by yourself, as opposed to getting someone else to do it.
Well,
it's a different effect on the psyche.
He gave his dog cyanide.
Okay.
That was
He
a
shot
mercy
himself.
killing, though.
He
He
shot
loved his dog.
himself.
I mean, now we're talking about kind of two different things. We're talking about a political person who gets involved in something much larger than themselves,
Yes.
which ends up in people dying, versus the guy that lives 2 doors down from me who eats the neighbor lady and no one knows for 6 months. And then you find
Sorry
out
about
he's
that.
eating.
And it was
He's eaten multiple people.
unconsensual eating of the neighbor lady too.
It was
I
not-
can't even I
so-
can't even begin to understand what drives serial killers and people whether they eat their victims or not. To tell you the truth, it really doesn't
Right,
matter to me. I don't understand serial killers.
I think, Adam, I think you touched on it a little bit in terms of when you mentioned about impulse control. I think it's one of those things where once you do, I think it's a series of things. I think that's why you see a lot of these serial killers, like as kids, pull wings off flies and cut animals and, you know what I mean, or pick up roadkill. I think there's a series of, and going back to Matt's point about school shootings and, video games and all this kind of stuff, I think there's a certain amount of where the little voice inside your head that would say don't do that becomes softer and softer and softer in these people, and eventually it's gone, and then they just act out, and then once they've done it once, then then it's a whole thing.
Well, it's like
So-
have you ever dieted? It's a lot
Sure.
like dieting because you're on a diet.
Uh-huh.
And let's say you fall off the wagon and you have some
Okay.
French fries, but you don't gain 20 pounds eating French fries. You say, hey, I can have French fries again. You kill
Right.
one person and nothing happens. Hey, I can kill somebody again. But I
Right.
think you have to be pretty bent to get to that point.
I think
Right.
what I've read about
And the
serial
bent
killers
is
they
the
have-
bent evil. Is that basically where
I
we're
mean, like a mental illness. I don't
is
I don't
mental
think-
illness?
I-
Is it evil?
I don't think
Is there a
I
difference?
don't think Hitler was mentally ill.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
going
think he
back
was
to
a,
Hitler?
I think he was
No.
a I think he was a fucked up guy who did fucked up things and whatever. I don't happen to believe in hell, but if it exists, I certainly hope he's there.
Right. Yeah, Hitler was not mentally ill. Jeffrey Dahmer was mentally ill, but Hitler wasn't. I mean, those are two different types of evil.
I think he was a little mentally ill because he started really he was cold, really efficient at his evil, just the way he ran the war really well. And then he started just doing really erratic shit. And they say it was drugs. He was taking a lot of drugs, a lot of speed
Sort of
type drugs.
Like Jeff
He was
Bezos.
losing his shit.
He was taking a lot of aspirin.
Him going against Stalin, when way too early. If he was going to go against Russia, he should have waited until, Europe was mopped up. That was just totally irrational and crazy. And he started doing more and more crazy shit. Still evil, but it seemed like he was coldly efficient, logically evil before that. Very
Well,
good.
maybe
I
there's
think,
a
I think
point
there's
in
a
the-
difference between being a bad general
Yeah.
and because earlier on in his career he had successes when the Oberkommando Wehrmacht, the German military command was
See what you did,
saying
Greg?
you shouldn't do this.
You got him mired into strategic
And
issues.
I like this stuff.
and they said they were thinking, oh god, this guy is just nuts. It's not going to work. And then things worked. So all of a sudden Hitler thinks, hey, I know what I'm doing. And it turns out he didn't. But the difference between being a bad general and having your army, slaughter prisoners, there's a big difference between that. You can be a bad general and not violate prisoners of war and put your political opponents in concentration camps.
No, I think he always did
And
that, though,
things like
even when
that.
he was prosecuting the war.
You mean
well.
even when he was like 15
Yes.
years old, he was putting his
No, but what I'm
prisoners
saying
in
is the two
concentration
are not
camps,
equivalent. The bad generalship, being
Yeah.
the being stupid enough to go into Russia,
Is not to say
I don't think is related
genocide.
to the evil things he did.
Because that just seemed really crazy. Beyond just oh wow, he's a bad general. That was just he was losing.
Yeah, but
it.
there's
And they say-
a long history in German strategic thinking of having the Lebensraum to the east,
yeah.
having the living
Yeah.
room. So it wasn't necessarily new. I'm not excusing it, but it wasn't
Yeah.
new. And Napoleon marched into Russia, and nobody thinks he's a bad general, and nobody thinks that he was crazy. And he wasn't
the time he
actually
didn't-
short.
Yes, he didn't have like two fronts at the time though. Like he was like, okay, I'm ready for
That
Russia.
makes
Actually,
me
he did. He was
I
fighting
think-
a war in Spain in the
yes.
Iberian
I'm just
Peninsula, the
curious
exact same
about
time.
Adam's height now because he's saying that Napoleon was not actually short.
I'm 5'9".
Okay, now I
I
explain.
am not a tall Jew.
Well, I
I'm
wanted to get
5'9"
back
as
to
well.
like the tipping point in terms of evil, right? I wanted to get back to that as opposed to dealing with Hitler's bad general making or general or whatever he did in Germany. My point is when does somebody make that step to their evil act? In other
I think
words,
it's a gradual thing. I think I think you get involved with some people and they dig the crazy shit that you're saying, and that allows you freedom to do more and more things. The first thing he did was try to take over the government of Bavaria. That's what the beer hall putsch was.
Yeah.
And he went to
Right.
jail and he dictated Mein Kampf. He went to jail. He was sentenced, I think, to several years, and he went to jail for like 6 months or something. And he dictated Mein Kampf to Rudolf Hess, who might have actually been batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And it just, things built on there. He had these bully boys that he could direct in the SA, the stormtroopers, direct through Ernst Röhm to go out in the streets and beat people up, beat up communists, beat up Jews, whatever. Not necessarily the same thing, folks.
But again,
See,
it's
very
other
interesting
people
'cause they-
doing the dirty work. It's not him doing the dirty work.
Right,
And then
well,
it makes
so-
you question the guys doing the dirty work. Were they evil? When
It's
they
yes.
decided to do those things?
Yeah,
Definitely, yes.
it's the same. I was going to say that on an individual basis. So since we're sticking with Hitler, let's say
Can't seem to get away from
Otto.
him.
Yeah, Otto, whatever his name is, and Otto is one of Hitler's bully boys, and he was abused as a kid, and he beat up other kids as a kid, and it's a gradual thing. So on an individual basis, his individual evilness and his individual crazy just sort
Right.
of built on itself to where when Hitler goes, go beat that guy to death with a club, Otto goes and beats him to death with a club
Right.
without
He
even
took-
thinking about
He
it.
took advantage of other people's psychopathy.
Yeah, Hitler
right.
could have used the Minder app, I think, in the early days. He could have used somebody giving him a different
Yes.
philosophy of life.
Well,
so
Minder
that-
might have told him that's the right one for you. You answered the questions this way. Do you hate Jews? Are you a psychotic? And Minder would have said, you should be a Nazi.
Yeah, bringing it back to today's sponsor, Minder.
I think
Speaking of
also
which-
it's not a matter of evil isn't this thing like a path that you can't get off. I think a lot of people, for the most of their lives, don't do evil. And in certain circumstances, they might do a pretty shitty evil just because they just really want something bad.
Well, it's like
enough
Brendan said, where that
they're willing to
voice
break
gets
their morality.
quieter and quieter, where the voice of reason gets quieter and quieter.
Well, it's
in
also
person.
sometimes the desire for what you want without, unethically, it gets stronger. And you're like, I'm going to break. I don't care. I'm a good person, but I want this so bad. I'm willing to break all of my own rules.
like
get
when
it.
you were in New Orleans and you were stealing people's drinks that they left outside of bars.
I wasn't. I
That's
was
when
taking
you were
garbage
evil.
drinks.
No, they
I was
weren't.
taking
You
drinks
didn't.
that
You didn't
nobody
know
would
that they
take.
were. That's where you became evil.
I don't
Greg.
know. Yes, I was evil.
Were
And
you-
then I stole a
but-
grape.
but-
I stole a grape
Were you-
after that at the supermarket.
Were you stealing the drinks for your family, Greg?
Yes.
Yeah.
My
And
child,
were they grape-based drinks?
Yes.
Was it
My child had the
fun?
shakes. And he was having alcohol withdrawal. I had to get him some hurricanes.
Well, then it's okay with me.
Yeah, see, Matt?
It's
I've
okay
never
with
done evil.
Brendan, but see, it's people like Brendan that caused Nazi Germany to happen. That's the thing. Is they went, oh yeah, it's okay. Go ahead and do it. It's that agreement that makes it
Yes, steal a grape.
get fomented.
I'm
right.
glad we've finally been able to come to the reason that Nazi Germany happened.
It's right.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor that I was able to participate
Thank you, Adam. You helped a lot.
in
too.
this discovery of the true cause of Nazism.
I'm confused. Is the reason why Nazi Germany was so bad is because everyone was stealing grapes willy-nilly because they just let it happen? Is that what they were bad?
No, it was
Yes.
oranges.
But apparently there was some idiot Irish people that were over there that were my descendants that let it all happen, and I just didn't even know.
And
Thanks,
there
Brendan.
it is.
They
They're
were-
his descendants.
They were your descendants?
It's like
Do they have a time
his
machine?
children went back in time.
Or is
I'm
yes,
my own
my
grandma.
yes, it was a looper. It's a movie, it's a movie thing that I think I want to talk to you about later, Adam, where this group of Irish immigrant children in New York in the 1800s go forward into the World War II to enable Hitler to beat up Matt's family who were living in the Ukraine.
Well, my family left Ukraine for England, and they were able to avoid the whole Nazi debacle.
Yeah, but not
No.
your extended family. You know, my
Not in
my
my alternative
one of
timeline.
my grandfathers was born in the Pale of Settlement, which is part of Russia. The Jews were allowed to live in. Now it would be modern day Poland.
Mhm.
And he and his immediate family got out in like 1905.
Yeah.
But he had cousins and uncles and aunts and uncles and relatives that were victims of
Oh yeah.
Nazi
Well, I'm
Germany.
sure I've got extended
So
family.
extended family, it still works.
Yeah, definitely. Because on my my mother's side, they're third generation Russian Jews. On my mother's side, my dad's side, it's basically KKK. It's like a weird combination. So they left Moldova.
So they
and
use
Ukraine.
Molotov cocktails to light their crosses on fire. That's what you're saying.
That was a brilliant analogy. I think.
Well, I'm here to sell myself.
I don't know if they were lighting crosses so much as lynching, though. I think that was more. Their
Oh,
thing.
that's good. That's good.
yeah. They were.
That's bad.
They were good that way.
It's evil.
So it's a bad. Yeah, it is evil. I remember when my grandmother first espoused. And this is on my dad's side of the family. My grandmother had no problem with the concept of lynching, and I was like, my jaw dropped and my eyes were like wide open. This explains why the grandparents didn't really get along on either side.
Yeah, it's my feeling is that it's just too easy to say that it's evil.
Yeah,
it is evil, but it's just too easy to say that. There's more than that. There's more than
like
just
more of a cop out to say it's evil. It's like giving them too much leeway or too much of an out, like you said before.
Yeah, and I think it is a cop out. I think it's an easy label to put on it. Yes, what they do falls under the definition of evil. But I knew kids, in high school that were complete douchebags.
Yes.
Who did evil things to me, but there are degrees of evality.
Yeah.
That's a word, which is.
Well, it is today. Evility, evality. It's the quality of evil.
And the thing is, I think, unfortunately, as a society, we're becoming way too prone to labeling things as evil quickly and casting sort of like, this is evil, that's evil, you're a Nazi. No, I just said that I just felt like I didn't want to do that thing that they said I should do, but no, you're a fascist. It becomes a little like a dumbed down thing. And I think, unfortunately, people calling other people evil is more and more that way because
we have to. I think it's more interesting to understand why people are doing this kind of shit, and then beat them up with clubs and things.
Then take out the clubs.
Well,
and that's when the Irish people come in.
Yeah, I was trying to stay away from the club thing, and I was trying to get to the understanding thing, but now that you mentioned it, the club thing is actually probably
understanding and then violence. Against
I'm
Nazis.
down with that.
Oh, against Nazis. Okay, not in general.
I not in general. No, I don't promote violence in general, but I think that if and I don't think I think you can kill people with kindness and bullets. But I think you can kill people. I think you can disarm them as long as they're not in a position to actually fuck you up. If they're running the government, then that's bad. But you shouldn't stoop to their level. You should use the machinery that we have in place in this great land of ours to deal with the morons who walk around with tiki torches saying the Jews will not replace us.
Right. I think part of it is a better understanding of our colons. I think if we could really wrap it up at the end of the show here.
And that's because the people we're talking about had their heads up their asses.
Okay, that is a firm encapsulation of what our podcast is all about. So I want to thank Adam Hirshfield, Esquire. If you're looking for an entertainment lawyer, tax lawyer, intellectual property lawyer, and I believe those are the main fields.
I give my contact information?
You can, but I think your
Please.
website is down because the one that was supposed to be up in October of 2020, I don't think that's working anymore.
Oh, no, that's not. My personal website is definitely down. You can either go to yklaw.us.
Okay.
Or if you're within the sound of my voice, you can email me at aehesq@gmail.com.
Say that again.
aehesq@gmail.com. So that's AEH Esquire, everybody, at gmail.com.
Got
Or
it.
it's like he's kind of sort of AEH. So he's AEH-esque.
That's right.
Be
And
like,
listen to Hey Poopy, everybody. It's a new podcast
Yeah.
where you can learn about your colons.
I'm
And
checking.
also,
it out.
or your semicolons if you're into grammar.
and various butt issues.
But I didn't even know. All right. So thank you once again. Appreciate you guys for being here. That means you, Brendan, because Brendan was gone for a month and he came back with the excellent sponsor of Minder. So he's doing his due diligence, getting us people to not pay us money for the show. And that being said, this has been the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!